Have you ever found you and your husband getting into a bit of a disagreement that starts to spiral out of control, and you're making accusations and he's pushing back and getting super defensive, and it just starts to get plain ugly, and you step back and think, how did this happen? I mean, I was just asking a question like, why did you do that? And all of a sudden he's pushing back. And yeah, well, I've discovered that sometimes it's the way we ask the question and the words that we choose to use. I mean, it could be as simple as something like this. Like, I'm an introvert, believe it or not, I am an introvert. My husband's an extrovert, and he knows that I do not like to just linger after church and do a lot of chit-chat because I don't know, for some reason, chit-chatting with a room full of people who are just kind of mingling around is not my cup of tea, okay? It doesn't make me a bad person. It's just my cup of tea. So my husband knows that. Well, sometimes he'll kind of forget about that and he just launches into some big conversation with a bunch of guys, and I'm just kind of sitting there going, oh. And so I can ask him after we leave the church, why did you do that? Why did you leave me hanging there with nothing to do? And okay, but if I ask it that way, he immediately gets defensive because he feels like he's being accused of something. And so he starts pushing back, and it starts to get ugly, and pretty soon it's spiraled out of control. It could be over, the thermostat heat, you guys arguing about that. I mean, it could be anything, right? Well, here's something that I have learned. It's a golden phrase, a golden phrase. It helps your husband avoid becoming so defensive. And here is the golden phrase. Instead of accusing and giving, offering that question that's basically an accusation in disguise, ask this question. Can you help me understand why? And don't ask it in a snarky voice, all sarcastic, but simply say, like, if my husband is, visiting after church, and then I'm getting steamed that I'm having to sit there and make chit-chat in the foyer, and if he comes back out and I simply say, honey, I noticed, we lingered longer than usual. Can you help me understand what was going on there? And if I ask it really gently, I might find out that there was a really good reason. Like maybe someone just had their brother die or something and he was consoling them. And I just needed to find out what the real reason is without making an accusation. So the golden phrase is, can you help me understand why? Can you help me understand why? And then just listen. I mean, Philippians 2:4 says each of us should consider not only our own interests, but the interest of others. And that's really what you're doing when you ask this question. You're showing that, I think you might have some reason. and I'd like to hear it because I care about your interest. I care about your perspective, and I want to hear what it is, right? And you're also kind of basically allowing them to give you the legitimate reason why they did what they did. So remember that phrase. Can you help me understand why? Fill in the blank.